Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to begin. Welcome, families and friends, elected officials, members of the General Assembly, members of the City Council, members of the School Committee, members of the Judiciary, City Department heads, and City of Cranston employees. Welcome to the City of Cranston's 54th Mayoral Inaugural Ceremony. My name is Major Robert Ryan of the Cranston Police Department, and it is indeed an honor to serve as a Master of Ceremonies this evening at this very prestigious event. An inauguration is a formal ceremony to mark the beginning of a leader's term of office. This evening, we will once again honor Cranston's 20th Mayor, Alan W. Fung, who begins his third term as the Mayor for the City of Cranston, and who was the first Asian American to serve as the Chief Executive Officer of a Rhode Island community. In this evening's program, we will also honor newly elected City Councilors, School Committee members, elect a new City Council President and Vice President, witness the announcement of a Council Majority Leader, a Council Minority Leader, and also witness the appointments of a probate judge, municipal court judges, an auxiliary judge, council auditor, city registrar, and also the announcement of the City Council Committee appointments. At this time, I would like to thank the Cranston High School East and West Combined Brass Ensemble under the co-direction of Mr. Mark Pelosi and Mr. Arthur Montanaro for providing this evening's processional music. I would now like to introduce the members of the procession who are being escorted this evening by the Cranston Police Honor Guard, the Cranston Fire Honor Guard, and the Cranston High School East Junior ROTC Cadets under the direction of Colonel John Murray. Entering the auditorium at this time is the Honorable Mayor Alan W. Fung, followed by members of the Cranston City Council, members of the Cranston School Committee, and appointed municipal court judges. time, I would like to ask the members of the audience to remain standing for the presentation of the colors by the Cranston Police Honor Guard and to remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, the National Anthem, and the invocation. I would now like to introduce and ask Lila, Michael, and Catherine Zarella, Emily Lopez, Connor, Molly, and Anna Botts, and Phoebe Lee to all come forward to my right and lead us this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Did an excellent job. To introduce and ask Marissa DeBiase to come forward to my right. To come forward to my right to sing the national anthem.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Still there, oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Thank you, Marissa. That was an absolutely beautiful rendition of our national anthem. At this time, I would like to call upon Deacon Peter A. Soprano of St. Mary's Church for this evening's invocation.
As we place ourselves now in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, the world around us is full of your glory. We reverently commit and commend our great nation and our great city of Cranston to your merciful care, that we may always follow your guidance in our pursuit of happiness. We pray that you bestow on our mayor, Alan Fung, the city council, the school committee, and all his staff, wisdom and strength to know to do your holy will. Fill them with the love of truth, honesty, and righteousness. Help them to always remember that they are called to lead and to serve our great city of Cranston. Fill them with that spirit of wisdom, and in times of prosperity, may their hearts be filled with thankfulness, and in times of troubles, Do not let their trust in you or their hope in you fail. All this we ask through your kindness and mercy. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon Soprano. And I would also like to thank the cadets as well as the honor guards for providing this evening's escorts. Honor guards, you're dismissed, and thank you.
On go. Right. Face. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Trail colors.
Please be seated. This time, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce the dignitaries seated on the stage and in attendance this evening. And if I could please ask everyone to hold the applause until the end, I'd appreciate it. With us this evening on the stage, U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Lieutenant Governor Elizabeth Roberts, Attorney General Peter F. Kilmartin, State Senator Hannah Gallo, State Senator Frank Lombardi, State Representative and House Majority Leader Nicholas Mattiello, State Representative Robert Jackard, State Representative Michael Marcello, and tonight representing U.S. Senator Jack Reed is his Rhode Island Chief of Staff Ray Simone, Chief Judge of the Family Court Aganush Bedrosian, District Court Judge Elaine T. Bucci, Traffic Tribunal Chief Magistrate William Guglietta, Cranston Mayor Alan W. Fung, Warwick Mayor Scott Abedesian, Woonsocket Mayor Leo Fontaine, Cumberland Mayor Daniel J. McKee, North Providence Mayor Charles A. Lombardi, Johnston Mayor Joseph M. Policina, and Central Falls Mayor James A. Diasa. Councilman-elect John Laney Jr., Councilman-elect Michael J. Farina, Councilwoman-elect Sarah Kales Lee, Councilman Stephen A. Stikos, Councilman-elect Donald Botts Jr., Councilman Paul H. Arquetto, Councilman-elect Mario Aceto, Councilman Richard D. Santa Maria, Councilman Michael W. Favicchio, Chief Municipal Court Judge Fred Jocelyn Jr., Associate Municipal Court Judge Raymond Gocoya, Associate Municipal Judge Thomas Ritchie Sr., Auxiliary Municipal Court Judge Michael Napolitano, Probate Judge John DeBona, School Committee Chairperson Andrea M. Iannazzi, School Committee Member Michael Trafficanti, School Committee Member Stephanie Culhane, School Committee Member Paula McFarland, School Committee Member Janice Ruggieri, School Committee Member-elect Trent M. Colford Sr., School Committee Member-elect Jeffrey K. Gale, Cranston Police Chief Colonel Marco Palumbo Jr., Cranston Fire Chief William McKenna, Assistant Superintendent of Cranston Public Schools Janine Nada Massey, City Clerk Maria Medeiros Wall, Assistant City Clerk Rosalba Zani, Deacon Peter A. Soprano of St. Mary's Church. We have Mayor Fung's parents, Kwang Wen Fung and Tan Ping Fung. And also seated in the audience, we have City Democratic Party Chairman Michael Seepy. I thought I saw Chief Operating Officer of the Cranston Public Schools, Ray Votto, State Police Lieutenant Paul Oshevsky, and former Councilman Tony Lupino. If I forgot anybody, it's not intentional, so let's give them all a round of applause. This time I would like to introduce and call upon City Clerk Maria Medeiros Wall to read the certificate of election of Mayor Alan W. Fung.
In a letter dated December 7th from the Canvassing Authority, we hereby certify and declare the following person was elected at the general election on Tuesday, November 6, 2012 in the city of Cranston to the office of mayor as set forth and for the term of office herein stated. Mayor Alan W. Fung, 1581 Phoenix Avenue. The term of office for mayor is 4 years or until his or her successor is duly elected and qualified. Very truly yours, Edmund J. Lamoy, Cynthia M. Fogarty, and Gary J. Vieira, board members.
Thank you. This time I would like to introduce Chief Magistrate William Guglietta to administer the oath of office to the Honorable Mayor Alan W. Fung. I would also ask that Mayor Fung's parents, Kwang Wen Fung and Tom Ping Fung, please join their son at the podium to hold the Bible for the swearing in.
Raise your right hand. Alan W. Fung, do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto and support the Constitution of the United States, this state, and support the laws and Constitution thereof, and the whole room charter and ordinances of the city of Cranston, and that you will and truly execute the office in which you have been elected, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom, so help you God?
I do. Happy New Year, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the City of Cranston's 54th inauguration. I'm really proud to be here, standing as the 20th mayor, and I want to take a moment just to begin by thanking some people. Now, first off, the inauguration takes a lot of staff to put together, and I really want to take a moment to thank all the inaugural committee, all the city employees, all the sponsors for putting this event together, and particularly all the participants, from all the youth in our city to many of the musical talents that we shared, from Marissa DiBiase to the Cranston East, Cranston West students that were here. Really appreciate your participation in this time-honored tradition. To the distinguished members of the judiciary, as well as the clergy that are here, all this distinguished platform guests, my colleagues in government, from our local state representatives and senators, particularly for a lot of their hard work on our behalf, to the statewide office holders and federal officials who have given up of their time to be here tonight, and for the continued help to our great city of Cranston. To many of the distinguished chief executives, the mayors and town administrators, all of whom I've had the privilege to work closely with to help our respective communities, and most importantly, our great state. I've been deeply privileged to work with each of these chief executives, all of whom I considered a good friend. During these past 4 years, I've developed a close relationship with all of you, and thank you so much for that honor. I want to take a moment to also thank all of you, the taxpayers of our great city, because all of you have made some great sacrifices during these past few years, during these difficult economic times. And we share in all of your pains, but also happinesses, because we are one city. And to the great employees that we have in every single department in our city of Cranston, from the directors on down to each and every one that work for the city of Cranston, thank you for all the hard work that you've done, all the additional work you've done with less resources, and particularly helping out during these difficult financial times. And finally, I'm saving the best for last, to my family. My sisters who are here, Arlene and Anna, my brother-in-law Rich and his mom, my cousin, but most importantly, to my mom and dad. All of them have been here all throughout my career in public service, and I really appreciate their support. But in particular, I want to take a moment to thank my mom and dad, because if it wasn't for them taking their courageous first steps, leaving the country where they were born, not knowing a word of English, leaving their family and friends behind, and starting a new life for the family they're about to start. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have the privilege of serving as your mayor. So, Mom and Dad, Dote Sai Holdo, Oho Oine. What I said to them is thank you so much for that. It really has been a wonderful journey for me in public service, and I've been honored to be a servant leader in our great city for the past 4 years. But just think, my journey took place 10 years ago when I was on this stage, beginning my career on the city council, serving on the legislative side of the aisle, as some of you are starting here tonight. In that role, during that first crisis, we tackled many difficult issues. And I knew that in order to effect major change, as the transition grew in our city, I needed to do something to continue a lot of what we had done before during that time we were on the council, to move our city towards continued economic stability. So I ran for mayor. And in 2008, the people of our great city put their trust in me to lead our great city. And that's a trust that I don't take very lightly. It's something that I am privileged and honored to do every single day. And when I became mayor, I did so knowing that the charter would allow me 8 years, if all of you chose to allow me to do so, to try to ensure that Cranston was put on a stable track so that the problems that have plagued us in the past would not plague future generations. And I knew that task would be a challenge. My goal then, as it still is today, is to leave our city in a better place than when I first took office. And tonight, I'm honored to stand here because all of you, the people of Cranston, have entrusted me once again to continue that work. And this isn't going to be an easy road. There have been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. But I don't regret doing this decision of running for office and giving up my private life. I've loved every moment of it, and I've even learned so much from this experience and grown as a person. And let me take a moment to share some of the successes that we've realized over the past few years. And we've achieved these goals because of a tremendous team of people, not only on my staff, but the city employees, but also as a result of the bipartisan efforts. And let me stress that, bipartisan efforts of those on the city council and also the members of our school committee and the school administration. So thank you for working together with all of us. And moving on, when we first took office back then as mayor, my first goal was to stabilize the city and make sure that our residents had confidence in our government. In fact, the first order of business was issuing an executive order on ethics that established processes and a chief ethics officer so that employees would have a place to go if they had questions. We also brought in staff from the State Ethics Commission to train not only our directors, but key employees in certain frontline departments that deal with our public every single day. Next, we made a commitment and a priority community engagement to ensure that the residents know what is going on. We've held town hall meetings. We've been out meeting with community groups. We make sure all the important news are on our city website. And not surprisingly, Facebook and Twitter, as I think Nick Frazier noted, is a really dynamic and engaging communication tool. And for all of you that are linked with me, yes, that really is me answering on the other side of all those questions and comments, good and bad. And that's what this is government, and this government in the city of Cranston is all about. And outside of that, these past 4 years, we've weathered a lot of storms, both figuratively and literally. As you may remember, within days of taking office in January 2009, we were informed that the state would be making mid-year cuts in the millions of dollars within the middle of that current budget year, which already had structural holes. As you will all well know, we made significant cuts, but we did so in the right way. We did so by walking the walk. And I didn't ask any city employee to make any sacrifices that my staff, and particularly me, sitting as mayor, would not make ourselves. And we've successfully managed to weather the loss and other more permanent and drastic cuts in state aid in subsequent years by implementing many sound fiscal practices. From the continued cuts in many of the departments and staffing, including my own, to instituting multi-year pay freezes, higher co-shares, to increases on plan designs to help control costs, to refinancing old debt, negotiated millions in concessions from our labor unions. And I want to stress that, millions in concessions. And I want to thank all of them for coming to the table when we needed it, because you're an important part of our city. We've also provided much in innovation and leased out many buildings, as well as sold many buildings. We've also negotiated, first time ever, the first pilot agreement with Johnson & Wales University, which will bring a steady stream of revenues for the next 10 years into our budget. All of those practices we have carried forward whenever we have possible to maintain a tight line in the city's budget. All the meanwhile, I'm pleased to announce that we've also done a lot on economic development, despite what we've been seeing in our state and in our nation. In the past 4 years, we've added over 1,000 jobs to the city of Cranston. TACO has completed a $20 million expansion. We made sure Alex and Ani's worldwide headquarters remained right here. Cadence, a medical manufacturer, moved into our city and is expanding. And I'm proud to say, in the next few years, they're going to be adding another 150 or so jobs into our city. We've also ran into Superior Court to help save Scott Brass. And right in the middle of our city, everyone's seeing the ongoing expansion at not only Garden City, but also Chapel View. And there's going to be more to come, ladies and gentlemen. Economic development will continue to be a priority because I want the next generation, those that have helped out here tonight, whether it's giving the Pledge of Allegiance, singing, or performing for all of us, to have the opportunity and choice to stay in our city and our state if they choose to do so. But perhaps one of the greatest accomplishments that I'm most proud about is that we negotiated with one of our major unions so that all new city employees would become part of the 401k defined contribution plan rather than the state's defined benefit pension system. And I pushed hard for this change because we all know the pension costs throughout our state are destroying all of our communities. Many of my fellow mayors are living through a lot of those same issues we are too. But it's not enough, and that is why, despite the fact that I'm proud of the things that we've done so far, I know there's more to do. And perhaps there's most notably in this area of pensions. I've personally rolled up my sleeves and I'm ready to work with all the interested parties to resolve these looming problems that we have with the local police and fire pension plan. All three rating agencies have cited it as an area of concern, and we intuitively know, just from our own lives, that this kind of debt can't be sustained no matter how efficiently we're running our operations. This will and it must be resolved for the health and benefit of our future generations. And as you can see, we've come a long way these past few years. To continue down this road, the process is going to require continued cooperation. All of you have elected, not only myself, but the council members and the school committee to get things done. And that's only going to happen when the administration, council, and schools work together. And to you, the newly sworn-in council and the school committee, I really look forward to working with you on the many challenges. And yes, there will be many that we face, some of which we know of, and some of which we can't anticipate. But we all owe it to the constituents to work in a bipartisan effort for the greater good of our community. And in conclusion, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that Cranston is in a far better shape than when I first took office back in January of 2009. As I said earlier, when I took that oath, I did so hoping that the voters would give me time, and they have, so that we might not only fix the immediate problems, but also ensure that on my last day in that office, across that aisle, whenever that may be, that I will leave knowing that Cranston is in a better place than when I first took office. That means stable, and that the decisions of the past would not haunt the next generation. So tonight, we celebrate our great community and this tremendous constituency that has entrusted us with this great city. We celebrate the fact that we are all on a path to stability. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America, our state, and the great city of Cranston.
I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize some other dignitaries that I didn't catch the first time around. State Representative Stephen R. Ucci, Cranston Police Major John Shaffron, City Solicitor Stephen Pelletier and Chris Rawson, and former Councilman Mario Carlino. I would now like to call upon City Clerk Maria Medeiros-Wall to please read the certificate of election of the school committee-elect.
In a letter dated December 7th from the Canvassing Authority, we hereby certify and declare the following persons were elected at the general election in the City of Cranston on Tuesday, November 6, 2012, to serve on the Cranston School Committee for a term of 2 years or until his or her successor is duly elected and qualified. School Committee Citywide, Michael A. Trafficante, 28 Oakland Avenue. School Committee Ward 1, Jeffrey K. Gale, 44 Payne Avenue. School Committee Ward 2, Stephanie Culhane, 97 Concord Avenue. School Committee Ward 3, Paula McFarland, 100 Ponham Street. School Committee Ward 4, Trent Cofoot, 38 Kimberly Lane North. School Committee Ward 5, Janice Ruggieri, 45 Oak Hill Road. School Committee Ward 6, Andrea Iannazzi, 51 Holly Hobb Drive. Signed, Edmund J. Lemoyne, Cynthia M. Fogarty, and Gary J. Vieira, board members.
Thank you. This time I would like to ask the Honorable District Court Judge Elaine T. Bucci to administer the oath of office to the school committee-elect.
Raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto and support the Constitution of the United States, this state, and support the laws and Constitution thereof, and the Home Rule Charter and ordinance of the City of Cranston, and that you will well and truly execute the office of which you have been elected, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom, so help you God?
I do.
And now I'd like to call upon the school committee chairperson, Andrea Iannazzi, to please come forward and offer her greetings.
Good evening. November 5th and December 14th, 2012 are days likely to set the vision for our 2-year term for very different reasons. On November 5th, I was proud to join my colleagues, then my colleague, now Senator Frank Lombardi, and my colleague Stephanie Culhane, along with the middle school students at Western Hills, for the launch of Rachel's Challenge. For those of you unfamiliar with the program, Rachel's Challenge was formed by the family of Rachel Joy Scott, a young victim of the senseless Columbine tragedy. Rachel brought joy to all that knew her. Rachel believed that if one person went out of their way to show compassion, that they would start a chain reaction of the same. The presentation offered 5 challenges to the students and the adults in the audience. 5 challenges which are very relevant to those serving the public. The first challenge is to look for the best in others. The school committee, council, and mayor will not agree on every issue. However, if we start with the premise that we all mean well and we are all acting in the best interest of the students and taxpayers of Cranston, we can set aside our differences and find common ground. Rachel's second challenge is to dream big. My big dream, and that I'm sure is shared by many elected officials on this stage, is to discuss a transition plan to implement all-day kindergarten in Cranston. This school committee is fortunate to work with the most dedicated group of professionals assembled to improve public education for our students. Our custodians, secretaries, bus drivers, teachers, administrators, and non-certified staff are the best in the business, and they give their all for our students. Rachel's third challenge is to choose positive influences. Looking around this room, I know that to be the easiest challenge. Each of us on this stage has a team behind us, from our families and friends to our mentors and colleagues in government. These are the people who positively impact each of us. Challenge number 4 is to speak with kindness. We are setting an example for our students, and that example must be one of respect, compassion, and kindness. Rachel's final challenge is to start your own chain reaction. The Rachel's Challenge program has impacted over 17 million people, a number which I hope will grow substantially as the city of Cranston learns more about the program. After the launch of Rachel's Challenge, we were confronted once again by the same issue that took Rachel's life and the lives of 14 others at Columbine High School: the need for common sense gun control. On December 14, 2012, 28 lives were lost in Newtown, Connecticut, including 20 innocent youth. Although it will be months before we learn the whys or hows of the Newtown shooting, I believe that it is never too early to start developing a plan to ensure our children's safety here in Cranston. Our top priority as members of the school committee is to provide our students with a safe and secure learning environment. We will work with any stakeholder interested in helping us achieve that goal. From Mayor Fung and Colonel Palumbo to the federal and state delegations, the courts, mental health agencies, Department of Education, and law enforcement. Our children are our most precious asset, and they deserve nothing less than each of us working together to ensure their safety. Rachel's Challenge and the Newtown tragedy have illustrated that there's still room for improvement within our system of education. Over the next 2 years, this school committee will work tirelessly to improve Cranston Public Schools by creating a chain of positive reactions, improving public education, and keeping our children safe. Thank you.
I would now like to call upon City Clerk Maria Medeiros Wall to please read the certificate of election of the City Council-elect.
In a letter dated December 7th from the Canvassing Authority, we hereby certify and declare the following persons were elected at the general election on Tuesday, November 6, 2012 in the City of Cranston to the several offices as set forth preceding their names and for the term of office hereinafter stated. Council Citywide, Johnny Lanning Jr., 111 Woodview Drive. Council Citywide, Michael J. Farina, 15 Redberry Circle. Council Citywide, Sarah Kales Lee, 131 Shaw Avenue. Council Ward 1, Stephen A. Stikos, 37 Ferncrest Avenue. Council Ward 2, Donald Box Jr., 65 Tennyson Road. Council Ward 3, Paul H. Arquetto, 359 Princess Avenue. Council Ward 4, Mario Lucido, 152 Locust Glen Drive. Council Ward 5, Richard D. Santa Maria Jr., 20 Burr Street. Council Ward 6, Michael W. Favicchio, 153 Belvedere Drive. The term of office for council is 2 years or until his or her successor is duly elected and qualified. Signed, Edmund J. Lamoy, Cynthia M. Fogarty, and Gary J. Vieira, board members.
At This time, I would like to ask the Honorable Chief Family Court Judge Agnush R. Bedrosian to administer the oath of office to the City Council-elect.
Raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto and support the Constitution of the United States, this state, and support the laws and Constitution thereof, and the Home Rule, Charter, and ordinances of the City of Cranston, and that you will well and truly execute the office of which you have been elected, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you are legally discharged therefrom, so help you God.
I do. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize a few more dignitaries that I missed the first two times around. We have former Council President Aaron Garabedian's in attendance, and also Traffic Tribunal Magistrate Alan Goulart. Now, I would like to ask City Clerk Maria Medeiros Wall to please begin the City Council meeting portion of tonight's program.
Pursuant to the Cranston City Charter, I now call this 54th inaugural meeting to order. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilman Lee? Yes.
Councilman Stichels? Councilman Box?
Present.
Councilman Arquette?
Present.
Councilman Aceto?
Here.
Councilman Samaria?
Present.
Councilman Favicchio?
Present.
Councilman Farino?
Here.
Councilman Lanning?
Present.
Nominations are now in order for the office of Council President. Councilman Santamaria?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I am honored and privileged to nominate my friend and colleague, John E. Laney, Jr., for the position of Council President.
Is there a second? Councilman Stichels? Seconded by Councilman Stichels. The name of Councilman John E. Laney, Jr. has been placed in nomination for the office of Council President. Are there any further nominations? There being none, nominations are closed. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman Samaria?
Yes?
Councilman Favicchio?
Yes.
Councilman Farino?
Yes.
Councilman Lanning?
Yes.
Let the record show that Councilman John E. Laney, Jr. has been elected to the office of Council President. It is now my pleasure to turn over the gavel to Council President Laney.
No, I think I'm tall enough. Before we start this meeting, I would ask for a moment of silence to honor the families of the teachers and those beautiful children that were executed in Newtown, Connecticut. Thank you. Mayor Fung, honored members of the judiciary, elected federal and state officials, members of the clergy, newly elected members of the Cranston City Council, friends and family. Welcome all. After a 2-year hiatus, I'm back. And you know something? It's nice to be back. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the citizens of this city for supporting my candidacy and my fellow council members for having enough confidence in me to elect me as their council president. I'll do my very best, and I promise I will not disappoint you. Make no mistakes about it. I and my fellow Democrats were elected here tonight because we ran on a platform based on checks and balances. And that resonated with the electorate of this city. I had the good fortune of serving on this council with the late council president, Peter Pastore, and former council president, Aaron Garabedian. Both of these men were role models to me. And both of these men were proponents of checks and balances. Checks and balances to them did not mean opposition to a position just because it was sponsored by a member of another party. It meant supporting legislation because it was good for the city of Cranston. This mentality will be the hallmark of this council. This council, over the course of the next 2 years, will face a full spectrum of issues. Everything from economic development to city planning and even chickens in backyards. Decisions that this council make will be based on what is good for the city, not as for what is good for special interest groups. Theodore Roosevelt said it best when he said, "The country will not be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in." This is true of our country. It is also true of the city of Cranston. And we will make Cranston a place we all can live in and we all can be proud to be part of. Collectively, the city of Cranston is now facing a very perilous situation. In dire physical times. We're looking at a deficit in the city's retirement fund that is almost equal to the entire city budget for this year. A staggering $260 million. The bad news is that our financial problems cannot be ignored. They're not going to go away anytime soon. But the good news is that as a community, we possess the skills and the intellectual capacity to solve any problem that we may face as a community. As a leader of this council, I pledge to the citizens of this city that I will use all the expertise available to us to solve our common physical problems. I will work with Mayor Fung and his administration in our city unions to achieve a positive result. The sooner we realize that the solution to our financial problems will not be a Democrat solution, it will not be a Republican solution, and it will not be a union solution. It will be a solution that will be put together by the Cranston community. It will be a solution that guarantees from now and into the future, Cranston will remain an affordable community for all of us to live in. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now moving on. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize Deacon Peter Soprano, members of the judiciary who are here this evening, elected federal officials, Senator Whitehouse and Representative Langevin, all the members of the Cranston delegation to the Rhode Island General Assembly, Cranston High School East and West Brass Ensemble, under the co-direction of Mark Colazzi and Arthur Monaro, for providing the processional music, Cranston High School East Junior ROTC candidate, and Colonel John Murray. Now I call for the election of Council Vice President. Is there a nomination? Councilman Aceto.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I nominate Mike Farina for Council Vice President.
I'll second nomination.
Motion has been made and there's a second. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Favicchio?
Yes.
Councilman Farina?
Yes.
Yes. Congratulations, Michael. Party leadership, the chair recognizes Councilman Santa Maria. Santa Maria?
Thank you, Council President. The Democratic members of the Cranston City Council have selected as majority leader to serve during the 2013-2015 term, a distinguished community leader to serve in this capacity, and another good friend of mine, Paul Arquette.
Congratulations, Paul Arquette.
May I say a few words?
Oh, yes, please, go right ahead.
I just want to say that I'm honored and humbled by the confidence that my colleagues placed in me, and I pledge that I will be open, understanding, and fair with all members of the City Council. Thank you.
Minority Leader, the chair recognizes Councilman Donald Botts.
Thank you, Council President. Republican members of the Cranston City Council are proudly selected as minority leader to serve during the 2013 to 2015 term. A distinguished community leader to serve in this capacity, Councilman Michael Favicchio.
Thank you. Say a few words.
Sure, thanks. Well, I hope that, I think we can work well together, the majority and the minority on this council. I think we've already had many discussions about different issues, and I've enjoyed working for the last 2 years with many of the members, so I look forward to working with the new leaders as well, and the new members. Thank you.
The presentation of the council rules of order and decorum is the next issue of business. The chair calls upon Councilman Santa Maria to present the proposed rules on 2013-2015 session.
Thank you, Council President. The Rules Committee met on December 19th of last year, and the proposed rules were drafted for the 2013-2015 council term. Additional amendments can be made, can always be made at a later date by the council. I move acceptance of the rules.
Motion been made, and second by Councilman Stichels.
Under discussion?
Under discussion.
Yes, Councilman San Maria, you said that during this 2-year term, if there's any amendments, those could be made to the rules? Is that?
Well, that's what the script says.
I asked Council President for legal opinion, if there's any changes, would there be opportunity to make changes later on?
Councilman Aceto, our attorney just informed me that we can always call a meeting of the Rules Committee and make changes to the rules at any time.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes. Councilman Favicchio?
Thank you, Council President. Just a reminder, I think any 3 members of the committee can call a meeting on the rules, so at any time.
Thank you. I'm so glad we have lawyers on this committee. Moving on. Please take a roll call vote on this.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Vice President Marino?
Yes.
Council President Lanning?
Yes. Appointments. First appointment is a probate judge.
Council President.
Motions are in order. Councilman Arquette.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, I'd like to present Judge DeBona nomination for probate judge.
Second.
Second by Councilman Aceto. Any other nominations? All right, the nomination of Attorney John S. DeBona has been placed in nomination for the office of probate judge. Hearing no other nominations are now closed. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Vice President Marino?
Yes.
Council President Lanning?
Yes. To go by the script, it says the mayor will now swear in Judge DeBona. I think about 4 other judges, so we're going to hold off and swear them in all together. If that's okay with the mayor.
That's perfect.
Municipal court judges.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Attorney Fred Jocelyn as the Chief Municipal Court Judge.
Seconded.
Motion been made by Councilman Aceto, seconded by Councilman Farina. Any other nominations for Chief Justice? Municipal Court? Hearing none, nominations are now closed. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Vice President Marino?
Yes.
Council President Lanning?
Yes. Fred Jocelyn is now the official, or unofficial, because he hasn't been sworn in yet, probate court Chief Justice. The next one is Attorney Thomas Ritchie, who's applied for the position of Senior Associate Municipal Court Judge.
Council President.
Councilman Arquette.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, I would like to place the name of Attorney Thomas Ritchie for nomination as Office of Senior Associate Municipal Court Judge.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councilman Farina. Any other nominations? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Vice President Marino?
Yes.
Council President Lanning?
Yes. So Farina, second guessing.
Get used to it.
Second.
Second by Councilman Stichels. Any other nominations? Seeing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Vice President Marino?
Yes.
Council President Lanning?
Yes. Show that Councilman, Judge Raymond Coyer is now a member, associate member, municipal court judge. Motion is now in order for a second municipal court judge position. Councilman Aceto?
I nominate Attorney Michael Napolitano for the Office of Associate Municipal Court Judge.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councilman Farina. Any other nominations? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
No.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman San Maria?
Yes.
Councilman Vecchio?
Yes.
Council Vice President Marino?
Yes.
Council President Lanning?
Yes. Show that the Michael Napolitano has been appointed as an associate municipal court judge. auxiliary judge. That's the next order of business. Chair recognizes Councilman Aceto.
Yes, Mr. Council President, I'd like to nominate Kenneth Shriver for auxiliary judge.
Second?
I second the nomination.
All right, motion been made and seconded by Councilman Lee Aceto and Councilwoman Lee for Kenneth Shriver to be his auxiliary judge. Any other nominations? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman Simaria?
Yes.
Councilman Trujillo?
Yes.
Council Vice President Farina?
Yes.
Council President Lamb?
Yes. The record show that Kenneth Shriver has been elected as an auxiliary judge. Mayor Fund will now administer the oath of office for all the judges.
Thank you so much, Council President. The judges, would mind, please come and maybe to the sides of the podium. If the gentleman would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto and support the Constitution of the United States, this state, and support the laws and Constitution thereof, and the Home Rule Charter and ordinances of the City of Cranston, and that you will well and truly execute the office of which you have been appointed, or until another be engaged in your place, until you be legally discharged therefrom, so help you God? Congratulations.
Chair now calls for the appointment of the council auditor.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Roy Damiano as council auditor.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded to appoint Roy Damiano as the internal council auditor. Any further nominations? Hearing none, will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes.
Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Arquette?
Yes.
Councilman Aceto?
Yes.
Councilman Simaria?
Yes.
Councilman Trujillo?
Yes.
Council Vice President Farina?
Yes.
Council President Lamb?
Yes. Let the record show that Roy Damiano has been appointed as the council auditor. The registrar, which is next on the agenda, this appointment will be done at a later date. Also, the harbor master, which is also on this agenda, that appointment would also be done at a later date. Standing committee appointments. I now call on Council Vice President Farina to announce the standing committee chairs.
Thank you, Council President. Before I do that, I want to thank the councilmen who elected me vice president and pledge to them and all the taxpayers and citizens of Cranston that I will work hard to earn the trust that you put in me as council vice president. Council committee appointments. Finance committee, we have Councilman Steven Stikos. Ordinance committee, we have Councilman Paul Arquette. Public Works committee, Councilman Mario Aceto. Claims committee, Councilwoman Sarah Lee. Safety services and licensing, Richard Santamaria.
Thank you, Council Vice President Farina. Appreciate your efforts. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the inaugural committee, its volunteers, and co-coordinators. I'd like to thank Mayor Fund and all the elected officials. Thank you to the platform guests, Cranston East Junior, ROTC cadets, Cranston School Department, Building Maintenance, Deacon Peter A. Soprano from St. Mary's Church. And on behalf of Mayor Fund, I invite, and the school committee, and members of the City Council, we invite you to a reception of refreshments in the Cranston cafeteria. The chair would like to thank the audience, that's you people, for your attendance and participation and wish everybody a happy and healthy new year. Since no further business coming before this council, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Councilwoman Lee? Aye. Councilman Stichels?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Marquardt?
Yes.
Councilman Lucido?
Yes.
Councilman Severino?
Yes.
Councilman Trujillo?
Yes.
Councilman Marino?
Yes.
Councilman Walker?
Yes. Before we adjourn, I'd like that Deacon Peter Soprano come forward and give the benediction.
As we adjourn and place ourselves once more in the presence of our Almighty Father. We say thank you, Lord God, for having witnessed the installation of our mayor, Alan Fung, the members of our city council, the members of our school committee, and all the appointed members, as we ask that that light of your divine wisdom guide them always in their work, that they may always seek your divine intercession, and may they remain close to you, and may your blessings be bestowed upon them and their families, but also may your blessings be bestowed on all the peoples of this great city of Cranston. Amen.
At this point, I'd like Major Ryan to take over the podium.
We'd like to recognize one more dignitary, State Senator Joshua Miller. Keep walking on. At this time, a recessional will take place and all platform guests will participate in the recessional, which will be led by Honorable Mayor Alan W. Fung. I would like to remind everybody that there is a reception in the cafeteria, which is through the door, down the corridor to the left, where light refreshments will be served and everyone is invited to attend. Will all members of the audience please stand at this time and remain standing until all of our honored guests and members of the City Council, the school committee have exited the auditorium. Thank you, good night, drive safely.